This is Jay Holgate with SEC Sports Report. I'm just letting you know, if you're an Auburn fan, that you do not want to watch this video. This video was taped between me and the guys at 1400 The Team in Columbia, South Carolina, and it's about the recruiting of Marcus Lattimore, the number one running back in the country. I have come out publicly and said that I believe that he should go to South Carolina, and I have given the reasons. And so, I've written plenty of great articles about Auburn. I predicted Auburn to beat Tennessee last year, and I got a lot of praise on that from Auburn fans. But I know you guys aren't going to be with me on this, and that's okay. I also got plenty of mail about my picking of Alabama to upset Florida and to beat them big in the SEC championship game. This is what I do. And so I feel like that this Marcus Lattimore is going to South Carolina, and I've staked my claim in the ground. So love it or hate it, it's what it is. And so I'm just giving you a final warning. If you don't like what I'm already saying, don't watch this video.
Stuff from him as we are getting into baseball mode. Spring training right around the corner, hence the Braves Caravan. Baseball practices will be starting at Clemson and USC this week, so a lot of things to talk about in that regard. On the phone right now on our hotline, it is the one, the only Jay Holgate from SECSportsReport.com. He's keeping his eye on the pulse of things involving SEC sports. That includes basketball, and of course, you're even getting into the recruiting mix right now, Jay. And I could have told you that's a mistake.
Yeah.
I could have told you. See, Jay apparently decided it would be a good idea to weigh in on this Marcus Lattimore situation, Bill. And Jay, now fill us in on what you did. Now, you wrote a column outlining why you think Marcus Lattimore should be a Gamecock.
Right. And
how did that work out for you? Well, first of all, what did you use in your outline? What were your reasons, and what has the reaction been?
Well, my single biggest reason for picking him to go to South Carolina was I knew the guy he's a Spartanburg guy. He's a big community guy. He's going to announce it at his church. All those things show roots in South Carolina. Those are things that make you think that the guy is a South Carolina person. Every time a player from South Carolina who's a super athlete, every time they leave the state and go play for Auburn or Kentucky or whoever, it is very disheartening. And I say that for any state, but I think for South Carolina, South Carolina needs to keep those kids in state. And Auburn, there aren't going to be any Auburn fans at that church, waiting for him, to give that announcement. Once he makes an announcement to go to South Carolina, they're done with him. They're just going to be booing him when he plays at Auburn next year. Plays the South Carolina game at Auburn. But my biggest thing was it's a 5-hour drive from Spartanburg to Auburn. And that's point to point, and you got to go through Atlanta. So it easily could be a 7-hour drive. For his mom and dad, who are his two biggest fans, they're not going to be able to go to night games down there. A trip down to South Carolina, they can make it down to Williams-Brice in an hour and a half, get home at night. I know because I'm traveling the entire SEC season, and I'm getting home late at night. I'm getting home at 2 and 3 in the morning from going to these night games, and it is exhausting. I mean, it's physically exhausting. I mean, I'm not a 20-year-old guy, but his parents are probably in my age group. They're in their 40s, and, I drive down to Birmingham. I drive down to Auburn. I drive up to Knoxville. When you get in at 3 in the morning after writing a story and everything else, you're just, the weekend is done. And my thing is, why not just go down the road? South Carolina's on the upswing. Both these schools had the same record last year for the regular season. They were 7-5. Auburn lost 5 of their last 6 SEC games. It's not like there's some kind of program that's on an upswing. So I mean, I made those points, and man, I'm telling you what, I dropped it on Bleacher Report, and we dropped a poll in there, and it was like 2-1 Auburn fans, and they were sending me all kinds of hate mail. And then we dropped it on YouTube. If you Google Marcus Lattimore, you'll get my interview with Ron Scarborough in the upstate of South Carolina. And man, I'm getting pelted every 10 minutes with some Auburn fan just sending me some kind of thing saying how Auburn is the greatest school and that South Carolina is the dumps. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, Yeah.
It's absolutely
We're gonna have
crazy.
Eagle.
I mean, the War Eagles, I mean, they're going after it with full force. I mean, they got a group of guys. If you drop anything in there about Marcus Lattimore, they immediately start attacking you. And
Yeah.
so I was cool until they started talking about my mama. And, you know,
They pulled your mom out.
yeah, and that's when it got a little ugly. So,
Welcome to the world of recruiting and just the whole, online, feeding fest that can happen. And if Marcus Lattimore picks Auburn, he will be on the receiving end as well. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
The Churchill struggle. There could be a riot.
I know. I mean, I was thinking the same thing. If he does that, if he announces he's going to Auburn, man, they're going to have an exorcism in that church.
Yeah. Well, there'll be a lot of people that need salvation of some sort. Actually, that might be, there'll be a lot of people that are like that, there could be a lot of new commitments and rededications, and, so who knows.
Well,
it will make for an interesting announcement for sure.
Well, Auburn, they've already named Michael Dyer. He's a 5-star recruit. He's a verbal commitment. He's locked in. He's from Arkansas. He's a 5-star commitment. They're still going after C. Strunk and Howard. And if they're going after Lattimore too, you're potentially talking about 4 or 5 running backs in that backfield. It doesn't make any sense. He goes to Columbia and he's the starter. So, I mean, on two things, on just the drive and the fact of him being a starter or not, that alone kind of leans towards South Carolina.
Yeah, and for all intents and purposes, and again, Bill and Kornblut and guys that keep up with this very closely, they still think that South Carolina, despite Lattimore's public statements, is in pretty good shape here, but you never know. You never know what these kids are going to do. It'll be interesting. And he's a great high school football player. We don't know what kind of pro he will be, or college player he'll be. Yeah,
You already seen him go in the pros.
My bad, skipping a step. But certainly, just from a perception standpoint, it would mean a lot. He would just be another recruit at Auburn. He would be the gem of South Carolina's recruiting class, and maybe that's something that would appeal to him, although that could be a negative too. Some guys don't want that kind of pressure put on them. We'll see, but good stuff there, and everybody should check that out. Jay Holgate's column at Bleacher Report. I guess you probably have it up at SEC Sports Report.
Yeah, it's on the South Carolina page on Bleacher Report, and if you go to YouTube and just Google Marcus Lattimore, it pops up as one of the top 8. I've gotten over 700 hits on it today alone.
Nice.
So
you're probably going to get a hit on your life if you're not careful for those Auburn fans.
Man, they're emailing me.
It's there that gassed up the plane and tried to bring in Petrino when Tommy Tuberville was louder. Auburn is it's a program that I really respect, actually, from a football standpoint. I think they're a great program, but those guys, their fans are borderline delusional there. I mean, the fact that they ran off Tommy Tuberville for Gene Chizik, which I still think will prove to be a mistake.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, and you were right on the Lane Kiffin thing. Yeah. You were dead on the Lane Kiffin thing.
Yeah, and Malzahn's going to be out of there, in a year or two. Yeah, and Chizik, I'm just not convinced that he was any better than Tommy Tuberville. In fact, I think he might prove to be worse. Jay,